Hello again. I am, as I have probably mentioned about 2,000 times on this channel, very much in favour of everybody being able to say whatever they please, as long, of course, as they are not advocating violence or treason. This doesn't mean that anybody, whether the newspapers, publishers, YouTube, the BBC, anybody else, should be obliged to provide a platform for people. But we should certainly not seek to prevent people speaking freely, even if we dislike strongly what they say. That is, by the way, why I do not delete comments here from people who believe that Jews are behind most of the evils in the modern world, from mass immigration to famine and war. I think that those people are foolish and wrong-headed, but I can't really see my way clear to shutting them up for that reason. The general rule today in such matters is quite different, of course. Some topics, such as homosexuality, ethnicity, and so on, are seen as being so sensitive that efforts must be made not only to prevent people from inciting violence against some group or other, but to try and stop folk from upsetting those belonging to those groups by saying inaccurate, rude, or hurtful things about them. This kind of thing has been redefined now as hate speech, and this is now within the reach of the law. Not only must I not urge others to violence against other people, which is very right and proper, but nor must I say anything which might cause them to feel unhappy or offended. To my mind, this could hardly be more absurd. It goes without saying that we should really try not to hurt people by saying cruel and malicious things to them or about them. But whether this should be a matter for the police is something else again. I would consider it very wrong of me to say something hurtful or unkind to a child, say, and to make her cry. But perhaps not quite so serious if I make a careless remark which wounds a grown person's feelings. We cannot, after all, go through life never making casual comments or expressing views, just on the off chance that somebody will take offence. Then too, suppose I honestly believe that some group of people, perhaps the Communist Party or Muslims or police officers, medical experts, illegal immigrants, or whoever they might be, are harming the country or damaging my own interests. Am I not to say anything about this in case they are offended or upset by my words? What about if I think that some group are stupid? Should I be prevented from expressing that opinion? Suppose I wish to use derogatory terms about some group, expressions which they will find offensive. Should they be protected by law from that? Should the police actually have the power to arrest me so that I cannot say such things? This is, of course, how things are these days in Britain, and one has to guard one's words very carefully. Thinking now about what was, when George Orwell wrote it in the late 1940s, a self-evidently true proposition, that if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. How does this square with the modern approach to such matters? The answer is, of course, that it does not square at all. We cannot tell people what they do not want to hear these days, and if we persist in doing so, we can end up in a police cell. Not for advocating bloodshed or violence, mind, but quite literally just for telling people what they do not want to hear. We have arrived at this state of affairs quite naturally, and it now seems second nature to us to censor our own speech, and for people to hesitate before they speak and ask themselves if they are allowed to say this or that, or if it might sound prejudiced or racist, homophobic or Islamophobic. What George Orwell would make of the current situation with liberty, I shudder to think.